So you really wanna pair these two? It would be nice to use Marechaussee and get all the Furina buffs, but is it worth it? Does it even work? In this video, we will explore just that, the synergies between these two units and how you can make them work together. First things first, let's put down some baseline, which is the obvious fact that Hu Tao is a character that prefers being under 50% HP. It activates her Ascension passive for a very good 33% pyro damage bonus, a better multiplier to her burst, and in the case of Homa, more attack. Furina, on the other hand, is a character that wants the team to be above 50% HP, and continuously have everyone's HP shift up and down. This will make sure that her fanfare points increase and she can give a larger damage bonus to the entire team. In that condition, her skill also has extra multipliers. Now Furina, by herself, does not apply enough hydro for Hu Tao to vape, so going forward we will only look at the classic, often used double hydro team, which in my opinion is going to be the norm for many Furina teams. In these teams, especially when using Yelan, the hydro resonance is pretty much insane and provides a lot of extra damage. Putting this duo together means that Hu Tao loses her extra passives and gains Furina. The 33% pyro damage bonus from Hu Tao Ascension passive is directly comparable to Furina's fanfare stacks, but those are obviously stronger and applied to the entire team. Homa instead will provide usually somewhere around 300 plus amount of attack when also below 50% HP. If we put all of this in practical context, however, let's keep in mind that the usual Hu Tao gameplay actually kind of struggles to reach 50% HP, and it will require at least 2 skills without any form of healing. Furina buffs, instead, will be stronger and accessible from the first rotation, although even better on the second rotation, as getting fanfare stacks will be easier thanks to, you guessed it right, bringing a healer. It's basically mandatory because of Furina, and honestly it would probably help a good chunk of the player base that struggles to play Hu Tao without a shield. Now they can more easily avoid that because they are enjoying a full huge pool of HP. We have yet to address the buff that I consider is the strongest for Hu Tao, and that is being able to use Marechaussee. This set is a match made in heaven for this situation. Hu Tao struggles for crit rate in many builds, and here we are getting free, uncontested and basically always up 36% crit rate. And we're getting no drawbacks, no energy missing, no using half of what the set actually can do. Our team is starting to take form, with Yelan as a damage oriented unit and Xingqiu for a more defensive option. Now the last slot is gonna be a dedicated AoE healer. We honestly don't have that many options here. Jhin is probably gonna be the most common one. On a healing build she can fully heal the entire team, no problem, while still carrying Energy Richard's sword and the VV set that here unfortunately is not able to buff Hu Tao, as Swirling Pyro is very impractical, but still manages to buff the other two units, and that's a big deal. Let's take a peek into what a rotation looks like, and then I'm gonna give you a few more examples for the last slot. Furina skill and burst first, and then Yelan or Xingqiu, but a small tip here, on both of them, assuming C4 on Xingqiu, you burst first and skill after if you want to get more damage. Yelan gets one more proc on the burst via the skill, and Xingqiu gets a 50% damage bonus on it. Or, if you're struggling for energy, you do the other way around, so that they start gathering energy for the first rotation. You then go to Jhin, usually skill and then burst, and then Hu Tao. On Hu Tao here, and all in the next teams we're gonna discuss, you're going to do whichever combo you prefer. N2C or N1C, cancelling with either a jump or a dodge, depending on the situation and your account. It really does not matter too much in terms of Hydro Aura, as it should never get cleared. If you need extra energy, you can start over with a Jhin skill, and by the time you go back to her, it's gonna be back up. So you just repeat the entire process. Keep in mind to always Jhin burst after Furina to actually get a good portion of fanfare stacks. These are the energy requirements you're looking at on average, and this is with Favonius. This instead with 2 Favoniuses, assuming they all proc of course. Last slot doesn't always have to be Jhin, and can also be Baizhu, which actually doesn't bother the vape reaction too much. Sayu can be okay, but it's a bit reliant on constellations for a good healing, and it's usually a worse version of Jhin for these teams. Mika could honestly work, but it's not bringing much else outside of the attack speed and healing. If you're looking for a rotation with Baizhu, Sayu, Barbara, Mika or Charlotte, you can basically do the same I just did with Jhin and use them right before going to Hu Tao. What's left is Bennett, and would you believe me if I said that he's actually great? If not, the best option here? Even having to cycle between teammates and heal them one by one? Even if totally ignoring healing Furina and losing stacks and damage? Here's what you can try. You can start with a Furina skill and burst, followed by Yelan's burst, then Bennett Burst and skill. Now a Yelan skill for energy and healing, back to Bennett with a skill for the same reasons, and we can finally go to Hu Tao. This one instead is a more complicated setup you can follow that enables you to use 2 Yelan skill. Here's another very cool tip: if you use the dodge animation cancel I talked about in my last video, you will be able to funnel Yelan's energy particles into Furina burst, even if we use the skill first. It's such a small detail that however makes your energy requirement so much lower and makes room for more damage on your Furina. You can also just use the burst first on Furina for the same reasons, but you prefer starting consuming HP as fast as possible. For both rotations, we are never healing Furina. We are missing out on her from 3rd generation and a 10% multiplier on her summons, but we have access to a huge attack buff for Hu Tao. Plus, if your Bennett is on a fully healing build, you will have a good chance to trigger Furina's passive that heals the entire team. This team doesn't sound perfect, and it's just not. I actually think it doesn't synergize that well, but we're basically using some of the best units in the game, and they are all doing one thing, which is buffing Hu Tao. She's getting tons and tons of crit, as she naturally, especially in the end game, has a lot to start with. Plus, we can use Marechaussee now. We're getting tons of HP, which converts to attack, and even more attack from Bennett, and even more from both because we're using Hydro and Pyro Resonance. And to top it all, we're giving Hu Tao Yelan's damage buffs and Furina damage buffs. We're basically doing nothing but give her the greatest buffs in the game. The only real thing that is missing is VV. But again, Hu Tao tends to be very awkward with VV, both because of setup issues and well, this is a Furina video anyway, so double Hydro just makes more sense. A small note is that you can use a multitude of weapons and artifacts, but generally Hu Tao is going Marechaussee and can use Homa but also Scarlet Sands and many other weapons. Remember that you cannot use Ballad of the Fjords if you intend to play Bennett. Furina, Yelan and Jean use their normal builds. Bennett can actually use many swords like high base attack or even Dog Hand for more healing or even the key and more. He also doesn't really care to use Noblesse as it's only a buff to Hu Tao and a really small one since she naturally has low base attack. The only real option here, to be honest, is Instructor, but you need a good one to balance energy recharge, HP and healing. Okay, now, you know who we didn't talk about? Mona. Do you want to know what I did for this video? The unimaginable. I strongboxed Maiden Beloved. Yeah, I did that. I'm not proud of it. Honestly, I heard a lot of people complain about it and say it's really bad, but it's not that bad. Should at one point you stop hovering above 50% HP, especially on Furina? And surely if you get hit on anyone that's even worse, but it's also true that if you can kill everything in not that many rotations, it's probably pretty nice. I would consider this too much for normal abyss runs, but if you're looking into speedruns or fast clears in certain combat events, this is a totally viable option. Again, I want to remind you that it's possible to use cheaper versions of healers like Charlotte, Mika, Barbara or Sayu, and they all offer different things, but usually the top choices will be Bennett, Jean and Baiju. Last small tip is that Charlotte against bosses can sometimes ruin a vape or two as her cryo application tries to clear the Hydro aura, but it should usually not be a big deal and rarely really happens. Thank you for watching so far. Let me know in the comment section if there is any particular team you want me to make a video of next time. I hope you have a nice day and I'll see you in the next one.